Want to turn Winterberry beads into a full jewelry set with a pinecone twist? Let me show you how easy it is. Today I'm creating a necklace, bracelet, and earring set using the lepidolite, Miyuki seed beads, and the pinecone charms from the Winterberry Wishes collection. So let's get started. Start off first by making some of our little links that we're going to need. We're going to need a total of 6 of these links. So I've already made 4, so I'm going to make 2 of them with you. We're going to be using the craft wire from Softflex using the rose gold color. And then after we get these links done, then all we have to do after that is just string, crimp, and assemble. So this will be nice and quick and simple little earrings and bracelet and necklace tutorial for you. Now all I'm doing right now is I'm just using my nylon jaw pliers, just running it through my wire just to get it warmed up. And then what you'll do after that is you'll create your little links. Now I'm going to go ahead and put all the beads on the wire. So we're going to start with an 8-0, then an 11, then a 15, 11, and 8. So it's what I call an increase, decrease. In this case it would be a decrease and then increase. Come on, focus. There we go. And then we'll do one more of those, but of course you're going to put 6 of these of this combination onto your wire. You're going to make a total of 6. I only need to make 2 because I've already made 4 of them. And that was just to make sure that I was going to be able to teach you the right way of doing this. So then there's all my beads on there. So I'm just going to let them fall down to the bottom. Then I'm going to take one of my pliers, doesn't matter if it's the round nose, or I mean the chain nose or the flat nose, doesn't matter which one at this point in time. Go about 1.5 inches to 2 inches down, and then just bend your wire over the pliers, like that. Then I'm going to be using the bail making pliers today, because I want to make sure that my loops are going to be in the same size. So I'm going to be using the smallest step. There we go. The smallest step of the bail making pliers, so that's what's on the top right here. This is the second step down here, so we're going to be using the first step. So we're putting this up against the pliers are sitting up against the wire down here in the bottom, and then we're going to fold your wire up over the small step, open the jaws, change that small step to the bottom now, and then complete your loop. And then when you do that, your loop should look something similar to that. Now this is usually where I use my flat nose. I'll use my flat nose and then hold on to the loop. I just get a better hold or better grip if I use the flat nose doing it this way. And then I'll take this small portion and wrap it around basically what's considered the neck of your little drop that you're creating here. So I'm just going to do 2 loops today. I've been doing most of my loops as 3 lately, but I'm going to try to just do 2. And then we're going to cut off the excess. Then this is where you'll need your chain nose pliers on this one. We'll have to take that little piece that we just cut off and make sure it gets tucked in so it doesn't catch on any clothes, doesn't hopefully catch on any hair or anything like that, depending on which one this one is going to be used in, either the necklace or the earrings. You can also make an extra loop if you wanted to and do the same thing with the bracelet. I just chose not to do this with the bracelet. So now we're going to move up the one section, which is going to be the 8, 11, 15, 11, and 8. And then after that, we're going to count down 3 finger widths, and then flesh side towards the product. I'm going to cut off right there. Then we're going to put that down. Now we're going to do the same thing with the next one. So we're going to go about 1.5 inches to 2 inches down. Doesn't really matter, just as long as you have enough to hold on to after you make your loop. Fold over the pliers, get your bail making pliers, or your round nose, you can always do that too. I just wanted to make sure that my loops were about the same size. And we're going to create another loop. Just doing it a little bit faster this time. Except this part, I'm probably not going to do very fast. Because I want to make sure that my wraps are somewhat nice looking. And then there's my 2 loops. I'm going to cut towards the product. And then these extra little pieces, I have a jar that I put my wire in. I also have a jar for like broken beads, but I have a jar that I put my wire in, and once that jar gets filled, then I'll either use it for decoration or just throw it away. Just depending on how it looks. The bead one I'm probably going to keep because it kind of looks neat. It's a bunch of broken beads. Now we're going to count down 3 finger widths and go ahead and cut off right there. So after you get the rest of yours done, then you'll have a nice little assembly line started here. So now, what do you do next? We need to make sure that our loops are facing in the same direction. To do that, I'm going to hold the little basically head pin of what our eye pin that we've made so far. We're going to make it into a link, but right now it looks like an eye pin. So I'm going to hold the loop in between my fingers. I'm going to grab my chain nose, and I'm going to put my chain nose all the way up against the seed bead there on the top. Now the left hand part of my chain nose is lined up with the left hand side of that seed bead, of that 8/0 seed bead. Now I'm going to push over, just like we have been in the previous step. Pick up the bail making pliers again. This is why I wanted to use the bail making pliers, and make sure that my loops were going to be about the same. Now I have this whole beaded section is sitting directly up against the bail making pliers. Yeah, you can kind of see that. Except it moved. There we go. Now it's sitting directly up against the seed beads itself. That was the only way that I can get this to work. That's why I had to do several of them to make sure that I was doing the right thing. And then you just complete your loop like you would any other time. Go up and over, change your jaws, complete the loop. And then now, holding on, and then try to get down to actual part there. I was about to try to loop around the loop. Wasn't going to look great. Still not as proficient with this, which is perfectly fine. The only way you can get better at something is if you practice. Something my parents always said when I was much younger, practice makes perfect. So then there is your 2 loops. Alright, so I'll do this one more time again. Hold on to it, to the loop in your left hand. Right hand is going to measure where I need to put my loop at, or my bend at. Bend over the pliers. Grab the bail making, put that all the way up against the beads, all the way up against the bottom jaw of the bail making pliers. Go up and over like we typically would, and then finish your loop like you would normally. And then pick up my flat nose, make it a little bit easier for me to hold on to, and then make your 2 or 3 loops around the neck of the wire. Cut off your excess. Oh, hold on to that part because I just threw that somewhere on my floor. And then and then tuck in your extra little portion right here. Then just do a double check and make sure your loops are facing in the right direction. If they're not facing in the right direction, grab onto your loop with one plier, grab onto your second loop with another pair of pliers, and then you would just twist until they're facing in the direction that you want. Now these are pretty much even already, but that's all you would do. You just go twist back and forth until you get to the side that you want. So after you get your 6 of your links done, meet me back and we will start the necklace first, and then we'll move on to the earrings after that. let's get started on the necklace. So this part of the tutorial, we are going to string on our seed beads first, and then we're going to put in our little combination of beads up here with some seed beads in between, and then we'll do another layer of seed beads that will go around the back. Now I have currently on here 25 of the 8/0 seed beads. So I started with an 8/0, I ended with the 8/0. The only difference is that we did an 8, 11, a 15, 11, 8, then went directly back into an 11, 15, 11, 8, and so on and so forth. So there's a little bit of a difference compared to what we just did with all of our links. Our links we did 8, 11, 15, 11, 8, and then did another 8, 11, 15. So we're going to do that slightly different on the necklace. So it's still the same pattern, it's just going to look a little bit different. We're also going to be using our little beading cable from Softflex. I'm using the purple amethyst color to go along with all the purples. So after you get your 25 strung on, and that number may change here at the very end, we're going to see how long this little middle section is, and then I'm going to decide if I'm going to take off some of this or not. The 25 ends up being around about 5.5 inches or so. I was hoping to do right around 5 inches, so we'll see if we have to take off any. Alright, so let's get going with this. We're going to start off with one of the lepidolites. Now on the lepidolites, I use these with my memory wire bracelet as well as the bead caps in my memory wire bracelet. So I only have 10 of the bead caps left over, so I can only use the bead caps around 5 of my lepidolites, but I have 7 of my lepidolites left over. So the first one I'm going to use is going to be just a plain lepidolite. And then I need to pull up my picture and make sure I'm going to tell you the right thing here. Then we're going to do one of our combinations of the seed beads. So this is where we're going to do the 8, 11, 15, 11, 8. And then some of these 15s you have to kind of play around with the wire, because some they'll fit on there, but sometimes they're just a little finicky. So then we'll do one of those combinations. Then we're going to add another lepidolite, but this time we're going to put one of the bead caps on. So the bead cap facing to where the lepidolite's going to sit. And grab one of those beads. And then put another bead cap on the other edge. So that's going to be our next little part. After this, we're going to add an 8 and an 11. Instead of adding a 15, we're going to add one of the bails. So we're going to put one of the bails on, and then we're going to do the opposite on the other side. So we're going to add an 11 and then an 8. And then now you're in repeat mode. So now we're going to repeat the lepidolites with the bead caps, and then the bails. And then once we get done with the bead caps, then we know we'll have to add this combination that's similar to the earring portion, or to the drop portions that we've already made, the links. And then we add our single lepidolite again. So, I don't think I'm going to do all these on, whoops, nope, I forgot lepidolite. Okay, I don't think I'm going to do all of these on camera, so you don't have to sit here and watch me. Just string on beads. I'll put another round on though. So this next one will be a lepidolite with the bead caps. Then we do an 8, 11, a bail, 11, and an 8. And then I'll let you continue on and string on the rest of your lepidolites and your bails that you want to use. And then meet me back and I'll have this last one on, and then we'll decide, we'll measure it, and then we'll decide if we need to take off any of these seed beads over here off to this side. And then if we do, then we'll figure out how much that is and then add that amount of seed beads on the other end. So meet me back in just a second and we'll get this necklace finished soon. Alright, once you get to your middle section strung on here, then after I'm measuring it out, and I'm coming just about right at 11 inches. So that's with the 5.5 inches or so of the seed beads down here at the beginning, and then our little middle section that we made. So I'm okay with that. With it being a little right around 11 inches, we add about another 5.5 inches or so. That's going to make it about 16.5 inches. And then you're going to add another inch or so of with the toggle clasp and everything. So it's going to be about a 17 to 18 inch necklace. I may still take some off. I don't know. I'm probably just going to leave it as is. You can take some off if you want. If you want it to be a little bit smaller of a necklace, just take off some of the seed beads here at the beginning, and then just make sure to string on the same amount of seed beads of whatever you want to take off over here on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and string on my 25 of my 8/0 seed beads again, and then I will meet you back in a second. After that, we will crimp this portion of our necklace off, and then I will show you how to cut off the other side, and then I'll let you crimp the other side on your own. So I'll meet you back in just a moment. Okay, once you get everything all strung on, your 25 of your 8/0 seed beads combination on the one side, the middle portion, and then on the other side, it's going to be around 16.5 inches. So I was about right as far as the guess as to how long the necklace is going to be. So now let's go ahead and crimp. So we're going to put our crimp tube on the one side, and then I'm going to be using the magical crimpers today. And then we're going to make a little loop. And this loop we're not going to make too long, or too big, I mean, because I'm going to attach the toggle clasp with a jump ring. So we're going to make just a little small loop, about like that. So that way it's easier. Nope, come on, focus on my hands, not on what's over there. There we go. So that way the jump ring has a little bit of room to be able to wiggle around if it needs to. Trying to make sure my wires stay in the same direction here. Then we're going to crimp down on our magical crimpers, put the crimp tube in the middle of the crimpers, and then just push down. When you squish, it should make it into a little bit of a square. Then you go on a 90-degree angle and you squish again. And then you turn it ever so slightly while just lifting up on the pliers a little bit, and then squish a bunch of times until you get no resistance left over on the crimp. And then when you let go of it, then you should have a nice little ball of crimp there. Now we're going to do a little bit of a tug test. For some reason this one doesn't look like the crimp turned out that great, but I think it's still going to be fine. Let's see. Yeah, that thing's not moving. It's not going anywhere. Okay. So, yeah, I'm just looking at my crimp. I don't know if that looks all the best, so I'm going to try to crimp a little bit more. Probably don't have to do this. I think I'm just being a little nervous because I'm recording and I want to make sure that I'm recording something that looks good. But okay, that looks a little bit better now. Alright, then we're going to cut off this excess amount of wire. And then just right up against the crimp. And then we can do another tug test, make sure that crimp is not going anywhere and I'm not able to move it at all. So I think my paranoia is getting to me. Now what we're going to do is we're going to push all the beads down to where that crimp is at. Before I crimp off the other one, the other side, I am going to, actually we're going to measure this first. And then we're going to crimp off. We got to cut off the darn stuff first, Dina. Alright. So I've got all my beads all the way down on the other side. I'm going to give myself probably about 4 or 5 finger widths of length. I like to have a little bit extra on this other end because sometimes it will be easier to maneuver that little loop if you have a little extra. So now I'm going to coil up my necklace, and while coiling, that will allow the beads to kind of loosen up a little bit. I don't know if you saw that I had a big huge indentation right there, or a little spot that had a bunch of beads sitting out. But that will help to loosen up the beads a little bit to where it's not too tight, but not too loose. I hope that made sense. So now I'm going to put the other crimp on. I'm going to let this one fall down to the 8/0 seed bead. If you want to go back through that 8/0, then that's perfectly fine. You can do that. The 11/0s though, I don't think a second path of this wire will go through a second time. So now I'm pulling on this part of the wire, the shorter part, and then I'm holding on to the left-hand part of the loop, which is actually the part that's attached to the rest of the necklace at the moment. And then this, you want the loops to be just about the same. They don't have to be exact, just around the same size. And then now, I'm going to take my pliers, I'm going to hold on to the crimp, but I'm going to move the crimp to the right just ever so slightly. So that way when I crimp down here in just a second, I'm not going to be crimping up against the seed bead so much to where I could potentially crack that seed bead. So we want to get that out of the way a little bit. So now I'm going to crimp down. And then there's your little box. And then I'm going to go 90 degrees. And then crimp. And then continue to turn. Come on, turn. And then crimp down as I'm turning. And then you'll know that these are actually completely done because you won't feel any resistance. And then I always do this like probably way too long than what you really need to do. But then there is your little ball of crimp. So now I'm going to tug test it again. I always like to do a tug test because, I don't know, I guess I'm just a little paranoid about it. Then we're going to cut off the excess. Now this is a pretty good length of wire, so I would keep this in a separate little bag off to the side somewhere just in case you need some extra wire sometime. And then that's how our necklace looks so far. So now is just assembly time. This is where we're going to need our little 4 links that we have. We're going to need a bunch of these jump rings. Now these are the jump rings that I got that I'm using from the mixture of jump rings that came in the Winterberry kit. We're going to need the toggle clasp. Let's see, what am I missing? Oh, the pine cones. Haha. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 pine cones. Alright, I think I have everything. So let's go and start assembling. Get my correct pliers out here. We're going to start off by adding the portion of the toggle. So I'm just going to pick one of the sides and then I'm going to add the loop of the toggle on one side. And then I'm going to add the bar to the toggle on the other side. And then the good thing about this necklace is that there's really no front and back to it. So if you choose to put the toggle on one side compared to what I just did, there's really no front or back to it. Everything has double sides to it, so it'll be a lot easier to figure out what you want to do and how you want yours to look. Now we're going to attach these links to the bails down here, and then on the other end of the link we're going to attach a pine cone. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the pine cone first to one of the links. So just open your jump ring, attach to the link, then attach the pine cone. Oops. And I don't know if you can hear a bunch of kids screaming. There's a birthday party going on across the street. So that's why there's a bunch of kids screaming, if you can hear it. They're having fun. That's all that matters. Alright, and then I'm going to put another jump ring on the other end, and then I'm going to attach it to one of the bails. You can attach directly to the bail if you want to. If you if you don't want to make these links, then you can attach directly to the bail. You can make several links and do 2 or 3, like do 2 here in the center, 2 here on this center, and then just 1 on either side. It's completely up to you as to how many links that you want to make and how you want your necklace to look. Make it your own. This is only a suggestion. You can change this up, use different colors, you can use different beads. You don't even have to use the purple colors that came in the box. A lot of these things we've gotten in other boxes before. You know, different size colored, or different beads themselves. Different charms and things like that. So even if you don't have these left over from the Winterberry box, pull out your box from, oh, let's see, there was charms in, when was that? The February box last year. There was charms in that one, or this year, there was charms in that one. I have used up all of those, though. So I'm thinking about trying to think of all the other charm boxes that we've gotten over this last year. But Bargain Bead Box is really good about putting charms and different things that you can use in different projects and everything. So I've got 2 of those attached. And then I'm going to get the 3rd one attached. And we're going to get that last one attached, and then we're going to look at our necklace after that. So adding on that jump ring, put it on this bail. And of course I'll have better pictures and everything of the necklace afterwards as well, so you can see it a little bit better close up and everything. Alright, so attaching the last charm to the last link. And then we'll attach the other side of the link to the other side, or to the last veil. Then we get to look at the finished necklace. I'm kind of excited about this one. This one was fun to create. I first thought I was going to do a bracelet. Then it turned into a necklace. Then it turned into, oh, I can make earrings out of these. Then it turned into, well, I had a bracelet. I used my bracelet idea on the necklace. So let's go ahead and make it a 3-piece anyway. And do a simple bracelet that will be just simple and easy to do, and will still coordinate with the necklace and the earrings. So here is the necklace as best as I can get it in this nice little small frame called the camera frame of when you're trying to record. So there is the necklace, and like I said, I'll have a better picture of it here at the very end of the video. So meet me back and we will do the quick pair of earrings, and then after that we will do that simple little bracelet. Do you ever have any of these just ball post earrings just lying around that you're not quite sure what you're going to do with it because there's no loop on it, so you can't add anything to the front? It's just a little ball post. But it has these nice little butterfly earrings, or butterfly clutches in the back of the earring. So what can you do with that? I'm going to show you one option. Alright, this part of the tutorial we're going to be working on the earring. So we already have our links already made, so we're going to go ahead and attach our pine cone to our link like we like we just did. Can't say that word right now. So like we just did with the necklace. So just attach it to one of the sides of the loops, or the links. And then we're going to attach, we're going to attach the other side of the link to the butterfly portion of the clutch when I mean the butterfly portion, this kind of looks, I'm pretty sure they're called butterflies. Now, they could be called something completely different, and if they are, then I apologize for calling them wrong, but the two loops down here is where you want to attach your earring. So just pick one of the loops and just go through the loop with your jump ring. Then that attaches this nice little dangle to the back of the earring, and it'll hang down from the back part of your earlobe, and the only thing you'll see on the front will be the post. So when you put the post into the backing, which this is the first time I'm pushing the post through, so it's kind of tight, which is fine. Needs to be tight the first couple of times you wear it anyway. And that's the way it's going to look on the side. And then when you look at it like this, that's how it's going to look in the ear. There again, I'll have some more videos or more pictures and everything of how it's going to look here at the end. So let's go ahead and assemble the last one so we can have a complete pair of earrings to go with our necklace. And then we'll finish the tutorial out by doing a simple bracelet to go along with our necklace and earrings. Alright, so this one's already attached to the post itself. Now if you're doing something similar to this and it has a front and back, just make sure your front of your earring is facing the front of, the front portion. But this doesn't really have a front and a back. This is pretty even on either side, and that post is going to get in the way, isn't it? Let's see if I can do this without the post getting in the way. There we go. Yay! Got it. Alright, so there is our finished pair of earrings that we used with posts and little ear nets on the back, so it hangs down the back of the earlobe. So meet me back in just a moment and we'll get that bracelet finished. To get started on the bracelet tutorial, the first thing we'll need to do is put our toggle onto our tube bails. So grab one of your bails and then one of the jump rings that came in the mixture. Attach just the round part to just one jump ring, unless you need more room, but right now we're just going to start off with one jump ring. And then on the bar portion, I started off with 2 jump rings. There again, if you need some extra room, you can always add more jump rings if you needed to. But go ahead and attach those. We're going to be using those here shortly. I have about 18 inches of my wire cut off, and I have a bead stopper at one of the ends. You're definitely going to need that this time. So what we're going to first start off with, as far as the pattern is concerned, we're going to do the same pattern that we did on the necklace, on the outer portions of the necklace when we just used the seed beads. So we're always going to start with the 8/0 seed bead, and we're going to end with the 8/0 seed bead. And then in between we do the 11, 15, 11, then another 8, and so on and so forth. Go ahead and do that to where you have 15 of your 8s on your wire. Then we're going to add one of the tube bails. Doesn't matter which one. Just add one of the tube bails. And then we're going to do the same pattern 15 more times again. So you start and end with an 8. So an 8, an 11, a 15, an 11, and an 8. So that's now 2 of your 15 8s that you need to put on. So go ahead and get that first portion done, and then meet me back and I'll show you the second step for this bracelet. Once you get your 2 portions of your 15 8/0 seed beads on there, as well as your tube bail, now it's time to add our crimp tube. Now we're not going to crimp down completely just yet. We're just going to add the tube. We're going to go ahead and hold on, pinch both of these. Before you do that though, you may want to double check and make sure that your seed bead is, the pattern is correct. Make sure that you didn't accidentally put 2 of your 15 somewhere, 2 of your 11 somewhere, and so on. So after all of that, what you'll want to do is pinch your 2 wires down here at the end. Go ahead and remove your bead stopper there for a second, And then go ahead and pick up your crimp tube on one of your wires, let it come down, and then add it onto the second wire as well. And then once you get your crimp tube on, then you can add your bead stopper back onto the smaller wire, just to make sure that nothing happens and you don't tug on it too much. Now on this wire, we're going to do the same thing that we did on this side. So add 15 more of your combination of seed beads until you get 15 of your 8/0s on there. Add your other portion of your tube bail that has your other portion of the toggle already on there, and then add 15 more of your combination of seed beads. After you get that on there, I will show you how to finish crimping the bracelet off, and then you'll complete it. Let's get this bracelet finished. Alright, so the first thing you want to do after you get everything all strung on and you have your two bails on both sides and everything, you want to make sure that your wires going through that crimp tube are in the same direction. I've already pre-done that. I made sure that the wire that's on this side is also on this side, meaning that the wire that the bead stopper is hooked onto is on this side of the bracelet. Only reason for that is that it makes it a lot easier to go back through this crimp tube a third time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure all the wires are kind of spread apart like that, and then I'm going to go back through the crimp tube a third time. It will fit. It will be a little tight sometimes. I finally did look at my crimp tubes and I found out why my crimp tubes are actually kind of coming out a little bit more different than what they typically do, and that the walls of these crimp tubes are a little bit thicker. So I probably just got a lot, meaning a lot number, a batch number of these crimp tubes, the copper color ones that were just a little bit thicker than some of the others. Perfectly fine, they still work. They're just turning out just a little bit different than what we typically will see with the crimp tubes that Soft Flex gives. Alright, so once you get all of that together, you want your beads to be somewhat close together, just like we've been doing, but you don't want them too close, there again, so we can get that crimp tube in and around that crimp and be able to crimp down without crushing any of the beads. So just make sure that your crimp tube is in the center of your crimper and then squish down. Now I'm giving it a little extra squish because it is a little bit thicker. Now you can still see that it made a little bit of a square. Then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, and I'm going to do it again. And then I'm going to continue to turn it. And I'm doing it slowly this time because there's so many threads going through it. There's 3 of them this time. So I'm going a little bit slower. But all I'm doing is just releasing the crimper just a little bit and then turning until I don't feel anything. And then when you're done with that, you should have a nice little crimp in the center of everything. So now you can remove your bead stopper. We need to cut off the excess of this wire. So definitely make sure that you're cutting off the excess and you're not accidentally cutting off your bracelet that you just made. So go ahead and cut off the excess wire as close to that crimp tube as you can get. Save that piece, that's a good piece. And I forgot to double check and make sure nothing is moving before I can cut off, but everything's fine. And then we'll do the same thing on this side. There we go. And then here comes the tuck test one more time. Oh man, that scared me. Something moved. I was like, oh no, not good. But I think it's okay. I think it was just beads moved. Okay. Whew. Lordy, that scared me. Alright. So now we're going to put it on this way. And you can wear it in this fashion, or you can have it to where the toggle clasp shows on the front also. And then when you put the toggle on, see how adding those extra couple jump rings help to get you to get the toggle on a little bit easier? Then you now have your bracelet now done. Except we just forgot something. Okay. Well, let's put our little charm on that I forgot to put to make everything match a little bit better. There again, you don't have to put the charm on. If you want to be done, you can be done. I just realized that after I was just like, and we're done. We're not done. So I'm going to attach it to the round portion. And I'm just using one of the bigger jump rings this time. That came in that same little mixture. And now we have a completed bracelet. So I won't put it back on again, but there's your completed bracelet to our little companion series here that we made. And then I have the necklace on right now, so let me take that one off. And of course we're not going to see the whole necklace because the necklace is a little large to be able to put it all into the frame. So then there is your necklace, bracelet, and earring set that we made from the Winterberry Wishes Bargain Bead Box of November 2025. I loved how this Winterberry set came together. Those pinecone charms add such a sweet finish. If you'd like more matching set ideas, let me know what beads or techniques you'd like me to try next. Your suggestions could help me decide which tutorial to do next. So be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to get notified when my next video arrives.